All right, once a month, the week before my period, I would look at my husband and genuinely just get flat out annoyed. And I'm not talking just a little bit irritated. Like, I was actively finding reasons, his breathing, the way he put dishes away, just completely irrational things. And I honestly couldn't really explain it. And what was so confusing for me is I'm a PA. Like, I understand hormones, I understand the human body, and I still just could not understand why I was so highly irritated that week before my period. And it wasn't until I came off of birth control and I started doing some deep dives into my personal hormones, my cortisol response, and really just trying to understand what my body was communicating with me every single month. I just didn't understand it. So in today's video, I am going to break down what PMS actually is. Not in a like your hormones are broken, scary kind of way, but more so in a way that I think it's going to genuinely help you understand your cycle. Okay, because here's the thing. Some of what you feel before your period is normal. Some of the things that you might feel might just be your body waving a red flag. Some things are not normal. So I want to help you differentiate the difference between those two things. So quick little disclaimer here. Yes, I am a physician assistant, but this episode is not medical advice. This is for educational purposes only. Please talk with your healthcare professional before you change anything with your medications, health protocol, supplements, anything of the like. Okay, so let's start with the basics because I think a lot of women have never really had someone explain to them what PMS is or what those shifts might mean for them. So PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome. It is the physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms that show up the second half of your cycle. So we also call this the luteal phase. It starts after ovulation, which is usually around day 14, and then runs to the end of your cycle, which leads right up into when you get your next menstrual period. So during this phase, progesterone is the primary hormone. This is going to rise after ovulation in the case that your body is pregnant, okay? And then if pregnancy does not happen, both estrogen and progesterone will drop, and that drop is what triggers your menstrual period. That hormonal shift you have when those two hormones drop, that's what PMS is. So here's something I want you to understand because this helped me understand it more. When your progesterone drops, it's also going to drop something called allopregnenolone, okay? So this is basically in your brain, it's kind of like a natural calming agent. It actually works on the same receptors as a lot of anti-anxiety medications. So right before your period, you're just literally losing that thing in your brain that helps you be more calm. So what does that mean? Your nervous system is going to be more reactive. Your emotions feel a lot stronger. Your tolerance for stress will go down. And then on top of that, things like serotonin and dopamine, which are basically your feel-good neurotransmitters, they will also decrease during this phase too. So when you feel like a completely different person that week before your period, you are not crazy. This is not a flaw for you. There is literally things shifting in your brain. Now, okay, to be honest, like some mild irritability, some emotional sensitivity, breast tenderness, a little bloating, fatigue, cravings, all of this can actually be a normal part of your cycle, and I'll explain why in a second. But the key word here is mild to moderate. These things should not be ruining your life. If it gets to that degree, that's when we want to dig a little bit deeper. So here is something that actually changed the way I think about it. And I want to share it with you because I've really never heard anyone talk about it in this way. So there's a lot of research that shows there is actually a purpose to the reason you feel this sensitivity that week before your period, okay? So your body is biologically preparing for a pregnancy during that time. Every single month, even if you don't want to get pregnant, that's what your body is preparing for. So your body wants to know, is this environment safe? Is my partner safe? Are the people around me going to support me when I need it? So this luteal phase basically kind of lowers your filter. You become more attuned to things that might feel off in your life. You're going to be a lot more sensitive to different dynamics in your relationships. And you're also going to be a lot less tolerant of situations that just don't feel right to you. So that irritability you have towards your partner, that is literally you doing a safety check to just ensure you would be safe around that person. And what's really interesting is if your relationship is solid, this phase tends to be more manageable. If there's underlying tension, unresolved conflict, or something that just feels emotionally not safe to you, is going to be heightened a lot more so. So this really hit home for me when I came off of birth control. I had been on hormonal birth control since the age of 15, and I had never really felt what my natural cycle felt like because I was started on birth control within the first year that I got my menstrual period. And this is, a common story that I hear a lot of women say. So once I came off of birth control, that week before my period really felt like a lot. Like I would genuinely look at my husband, boyfriend at the time, and just the only way I can describe it is like ick or whatever people are saying now. And it genuinely confused me because honestly, outside of that window, we were totally fine. So I started digging into my own labs, looking at my cortisol patterns, my estrogen, my full hormonal picture, and really starting to evaluate my own stress levels. And then it started to make sense. So what I found was this. Some of the irritability was normal, and there's actually a biological reason for it. But a big chunk of it was me actually making things worse by having high cortisol, low progesterone, and pushing my body further into a stress state with things like over-exercising and under-eating. So once I started addressing those root issues, to be honest, the irritability didn't completely disappear. There's a small degree to it, but it has gotten way more manageable. And, now it's something that I feel like I can work with rather than this once a month, totally debilitating period. So some sensitivity before your period is actually your cycle working the way it is supposed to. But here's the main question. How severe is it? Okay, so I'm going to paint a picture of what normal PMS may look like because maybe you don't actually know the difference between what's normal and what's a bit extreme. So a little bit more emotionally sensitive, normal. Wanting to be more to yourself and maybe less social, normal. Mild bloating, fatigue, or maybe you have some different food cravings. Also normal. Your body is literally preparing to shed the uterine lining. So if you want to slow down a little bit, that is okay. Mild irritability, especially if there are stressors during that time, also normal. Your stress threshold is going to be lower during that time period. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means you're a woman with a functioning cycle and hormones. Okay, so this is the part I really want you to pay attention to if you feel like there's more to it than this. So a lot of women are just told they have bad cycles or bad PMS, but these are the more like red flag symptoms I want you to look out for that may indicate we actually need to address the PMS. So if you have anger or rage that feels completely out of proportion to what's actually happening in real life. Crying that's uncontrollable, significant anxiety or depression, fatigue that is so bad that you generally can't function, not just like you're tired, but like you're literally shutting down, you can't go to work. Breast pain or swelling that is extremely uncomfortable, migraines or severe headaches that show up like clockwork monthly at that time, or, real damage to your relationships. And maybe after this time period is over, you can't fully explain it. So if several of these things sounded familiar to you, I want you to hear this, that those symptoms are not just part of being a woman. That's not just a part of, mild hormonal shifts, okay? This is a sign that we need to look a little bit deeper because there's a few main things that could be causing this. Some of the things we'll chat about, estrogen dominance, low progesterone, elevated cortisol, and sluggish detox. Okay. So then on the more extreme side of this, we have something called PMDD. This stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And this is considered an actual clinical diagnosis. Okay. So this is severe psychological symptoms in the luteal phase that impact your ability to function. PMDD, absolutely real. If you think you have this, then please work with someone that can help you with this. This is not something you should try to figure out on your own. But again, even if your symptoms don't hit that, extreme threshold, if PMS is affecting you or your relationships, it's definitely still something worth looking into. Okay. So when PMS goes beyond the normal range, it's almost always one of these few things that's happening, or a combination. Okay, so I'm going to list out each of the issues we could have here. Number one, estrogen dominance. So this basically means there's too much estrogen compared to the amount of progesterone that's being produced. And usually this comes down to, it's not that you're producing too much estrogen, it's that you're not getting rid of the estrogen efficiently enough. This usually is because of liver or gut issues. So when estrogen starts to build up, your body can't clear it properly, it recirculates, and then that creates even more symptoms. Second one, low progesterone. So if you remember me saying at the beginning of the episode, progesterone is your calming hormone. So when it's low, whether that be from chronic stress, under eating, over exercising, or after birth control, which this was my problem, this is when you start to feel even more of those PMS symptoms. Okay, third one is high cortisol. This is probably the biggest one. So cortisol and progesterone actually are going to be in the same pathway. So when your cortisol is extremely elevated, it is going to steal from your progesterone. So that leads back to the second point of low progesterone. High cortisol, low progesterone very often go hand in hand, okay? Fourth thing is gut dysfunction. So again, a lot of your estrogen is cleared by the gut. So if you have dysbiosis in your gut, or things are just moving very slowly, you have chronic constipation, that is going to create a scenario where estrogen is recirculated and starts to build up in your system and create more symptoms. Fifth thing, nutrient deficiencies. And this is a really big one. So B6, magnesium, zinc, all are absolutely critical for your progesterone production, and also for those, feel-good neurotransmitters, the serotonin and the dopamine. So most women with PMS are low in one, if not all of these things. So here is the thing. These don't just happen, one in isolation. They often stack on top of each other. So you might have high amounts of stress, which then leads to low progesterone, which then leads to an estrogen dominant situation. And you also have constipation on top of that, and that creates a worsening cycle, okay? So if you don't actually try to get to the bottom of both the gut and the hormone issues, it's just a Band-Aid approach and you're not actually fixing it. So what can we actually do to fix it? Number one is starting with your nervous system, okay? So I want you to start here because this is what everything else is going to be based on. If your cortisol is high, and to be honest, for a lot of, successful high-performing women, this is the case. Your hormonal cycle is going to reflect that. The luteal phase is the time when you're going to have these natural hormone shifts. So when you add high cortisol on top of that, that can disrupt the entire cycle. Okay, so what actually is going to help? Number one, protecting your sleep, especially if it's that week before your menstrual period. So it's not to say don't sleep other days of the month, but if you can protect that time period when your progesterone is being produced, that will help. Okay, intentional downtime. So again, this does not just mean binging Netflix or scrolling on your phone, actual intentional downtime. And this is going to look different for everyone. So for me, taking a long walk outside in nature, that is the best way for me to actually chill out and calm down. Gentle movement, breath work, meditation, prayer, all of these things can actually help you bring your nervous system from fight or flight to calm state. Okay, so you obviously want to try to eliminate the things that's going to push you into that high cortisol state. So alcohol, ultra processed foods, extreme dieting and cardio, doom scrolling, kind of a dub, but like stay away from those things during that time period. Okay, so number 2 is supporting your liver and estrogen clearance. Your liver is the organ responsible for clearing your hormones, okay? So when it is overwhelmed by a combination of things, could be alcohol, processed foods, toxins, all of this is going to affect how the estrogen is cleared out of your body, and it will recirculate and create even more symptoms. So what can you do to support your liver and your gut? I would aim to eat cruciferous vegetables daily. So things like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale. These contain compounds that directly support estrogen getting metabolized out of the body, okay? One of the most underrated things you can do to help impact your hormones. Number 2, gonna sound like a weird one, but staying on top of bowel movements, okay? So if you're not going to the bathroom at least daily, you have to think about, how do things get processed out of your body? How do you actually detox things? You pee it out or poop it out or sweat it out, okay? So if you're not having bowel movements daily, things are going to get reabsorbed and recirculated. 3, pull back on alcohol. So even moderate drinking can impair your liver. 4 is eating enough fiber to support your gut health. And then obviously, you know, for some people, they may already be doing all these things and they're like, what's the next step? There are certain liver detox supplements that you can try. You know, I would definitely recommend that you're working with a practitioner before you try to add stuff like this in, because obviously you want to make sure you're benefiting your system, not doing more harm than good. But some things that I like is milk thistle, NAC, or glutathione. Okay. Number 3, we're going to work on training smarter, not harder. This is one of the biggest things I see with women that come to me. They come to me and they're working out 6 to 7 days a week and they feel like they aren't making any progress. And almost for all these women, when I look at their labs, I'm seeing a picture of high cortisol, low progesterone. So I actually tell them, we're going to do less, not more. Okay. So you want to focus on quality sessions, not quantity. Okay. So to be honest, as a woman with a natural cycle, your body is not the same every day of the month. In your follicular phase, so days 1 through 14, your energy and recovery will be at the highest. So you're going to feel your strongest then. Your workouts are going to feel the best during that time period. Luteal phase, so day 14 through 28, strength might still be decent in the first part, but then as you get towards the end, you're going to notice a dip. And honestly, you know, it kind of depends on your main goals. If you're a bodybuilder about to be in a bodybuilding show, you might not be able to pull back on your training intensity. But for women that are trying to regulate their hormones, I would recommend kind of altering how you do your training during this time. So that last week before your period, you can still work out. It's still healthy to get in the gym and get moving. But again, you want to focus on quality sessions. Maybe you're not trying to hit a weight PR. You're just aiming to, you know, get in the gym, have really good mind-muscle connection, maybe have slower tempo with your workouts. A lot of times you'll get an even better workout if you do that too. Okay. But, you know, just to be honest, with women dealing with really bad PMS, high intensity training in that late luteal phase can definitely worsen things. And that's what was happening to me. Okay. One other point on that is when you're doing your resistance training 3 to 4 days a week, the other days, those are rest days. That doesn't mean you need to add in workout classes and hot yoga and all this other stuff. Like, your rest days are genuinely your rest days. Let your body chill. Number 4 is supplement support. So there's a few supplements that have really solid research behind them for PMS, and this is what I personally use and what I see making a difference for my clients. One you've probably heard of, magnesium glycinate. This is probably the best place to start. So magnesium is involved with so many different things in the body, but especially with your hormones, it helps with progesterone synthesis, serotonin production, and nervous system regulation. So a lot of women are deficient in it, so definitely does not hurt to add this in. I take magnesium daily, and then I also often will increase it during the luteal phase if I need it, especially before bedtime. B6, or otherwise known as P5P. B6 is essential for progesterone production and also converting tryptophan over to serotonin. So low B6 is directly linked to those low mood symptoms. Okay, so what I like to incorporate for a lot of clients is what's called a B complex, basically giving you all the B vitamins that you need in a methylated form. That's the best way to go about it, in my opinion. 3 is L-theanine. So this is an amino acid that promotes a calm, focused state, but it does not make you drowsy. So it's going to work on the GABA receptors, which is actually the same system that the allopregnanolone, that hormone I mentioned initially, works on. So if you have a lot more anxiety during PMS, this is a good one to add in. Saffron. I love talking about this because not a lot of people know about it, and I truly feel like it is a game changer. There is a lot of clinical data on saffron for PMS and mood. Small daily doses have been shown in trials to reduce irritability, anxiety, and low mood in the luteal phase. It, kind of sounds too good to be true because it's like, saffron, we hear about the spice, but genuinely it works. I take this in the morning, especially during PMS time period, and I feel like I'm around like ovulation. My mood completely shifts. Okay, again, just to be clear here, these are recommendations. This is for educational purposes. I'm not instructing you to go out and take all of these supplements in a list. Would highly recommend that you work with a practitioner that can help guide you on the best supplements for you. Okay, so this is what I want you to take away from this episode. Your cycle is not working against you. It is not just a monthly inconvenience, okay? Your menstrual cycle and how you feel throughout the month is one of the most honest windows into your health. I truly believe that. And your luteal phase is just your body communicating what the heck is going on. So some of what you feel before your menstrual period, again, it's supposed to be there. That's the biological response to your hormones shifting. The, sensitivity, social awareness, and even some of that irritability. That is just your body preparing for pregnancy. But if it's absolutely taking over your life, if it's affecting your relationships, if you dread half of the month, if you have zero energy, if you have extreme anxiety or depression, that is a different story, and that needs to be looked into. Okay, so really it took, for me, a long time of diving deep into my own hormones, really understanding genuinely like the type of stress state I was putting myself in and how my daily actions were worsening my PMS, which, obviously affects your partner as well. And that's what changed everything for me, is actually genuinely understanding what was going on there. But you also deserve that same understanding. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, this sounds like me, I'm ready to actually figure things out and I want to feel better during this PMS time period, I would invite you to book a call with my team. The link will be in the description down below. So basically, we're going to use functional testing and actually look at your hormone levels, develop a plan that is right for you, and especially the symptoms that are bothering you the most. Okay, so this is not a one-size-fits-all protocol. That's why I can give some general guidelines on this podcast. But if you want to actually cure your own hormonal issues, would recommend getting some testing and working with us. So again, the link is in the description. If you like this video, save it, send it to a friend, like it. Would love the feedback. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the next one.